Hi, welcome to Door to Door with your host, me, Judy Stakee. Join me as I travel all over interviewing songwriters about their process. Hi, I am so excited to be sitting here today with Ben Glover. Ben was one of my most favorite writers that I had signed at Warner Chappell way back in the day. He is a singer, a songwriter, a musician, and a producer. And I'm going to cheat with a few notes here, but Ben made one studio album in 2001 and then really gave that up to write and produce for others. He has been the ASCAP Christian Songwriter of the Year for 4 years, 2010, 12, 13, and last year, 2015. He has won 1 Grammy for Song of the Year, Contemporary Christian, for Mandisa's Overcomer, and a Grammy for King & Country's album as the producer. He's had over 35 #1 hits and counting, which is absolutely startling and amazing. He's written for, like I said, for King & Country, Mandisa, Mercy Me, Backstreet Boys, Amy Grant, Jamie Taylor, Joy Williams, The Afters, Newsboys, and on and on. Those are just some of the highlights. Hi, Ben. Thanks for sitting down with me today and doing this.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Love the studio. That's very cool up there.
I wish I could say I shot that one, but I didn't.
You didn't shoot that one. So we're going to do a little round of questions. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
How
good.
did we meet?
Well, let's see. The first time I remember was in Sean Schenkel's studio. Mm-hmm. And that was, oh gosh, I don't know how many years, at least 12 years ago maybe.
Oh, 2006, I want to say, 2005 or 2006.
So
yeah.
10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you were in there meeting with Sean, and I just remember going in and you were just fiery, spitfire of a person, and it was just like, I remember going, who is this? And thinking, and Sean was like, this is Judy, and I think he was talking to you at the time about stuff and, about coming to work or coming to write
I
for
courted
Warner.
him for 2 years before I signed him. Yeah,
Right.
He made me wait.
Right. And I remember just thinking, man, she's scary. She's gonna, in a great way. Like, I remember thinking, Judy is.
Heard that before.
She's scary. She's gonna, like, I mean, that she knows what she wants and she knows what she thinks about songs, and very opinionated and strong. And I just thought, I was intrigued by that because I thought I could probably learn a lot from somebody like you. So I remember asking Sean after you left. I remember asking him about, well, tell me more about this. And he's like, you could actually, this might be a really good fit for you because you could use somebody like that in your life. And so I remember that was my introduction.
And you signed quickly after, and we got about 4 years in together, I think it was.
Something close.
Some
3, I think.
Yeah. So what is your creative process, Ben?
Oh, man, it changes every time.
Yeah.
When it comes to writing, there's some guys that like to be lyric guys first, music guys first. I tend to be a music guy first. Like, I always say the music's kind of like the skeleton. And I like to have the skeleton there before I put the muscles on it. And the lyrics kind of like the muscles and the skin and everything like that. Like, maybe the thing you notice the most, but I got to have that backbone before I can do that.
That's a new analogy. Haven't heard that one before. I like that.
That's the way I always look at it. Yeah.
So what kind of work did you put in as a young writer to get where you are creatively today?
Well, I did it all the time. I mean, to start with, I wrote all the time, which was,
that would be a good place to start.
very simple kind of thing to do, but you got to do it a lot. And, it's just like exercising. You got to keep doing it. But I listened to a lot of music. I stayed current with what was going on and paid attention to the trends, to certain things I liked, and discovered, what I was good at, what I wasn't good at. And it was like if there was traction in a certain area, I would kind of chase the traction, and I would go, well, if I'm seeing success here because I'm doing this better, so I sort of go towards that. So I kind of learned to hone it that way, and just but really doing it a lot.
Yeah.
just
Well, you brought up staying musically current. How do you stay musically current?
you got to just listen all the time. You have to. I mean, listen and pay attention to. I mean, just the different ways songs are being written, the different kind of lyrical approaches. I mean, it's very subtle the way things change. Sometimes not so subtle, but through the years, one year to the next, there's a massive difference. Like in today's market, it changes so much that you got to constantly be listening. And the longer that I've done it, that's harder to do. Like that's the harder thing, is to stay current, because you're so busy working on it that you almost feel like when you want to listen to a song that it almost feels like a waste of time. Like, well, I'm just listening to music, but I'm thinking this is what's so important to do.
It's educational, and we have to keep educating ourselves in order to keep doing our work.
Right.
How do you prepare for a session?
Every session is different, but I like to go in now more than when I was younger. Honestly, I'd wing it. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'd walk in and I would just let the session take me where it took me, and I'd walk in. I wouldn't always have an idea, but I'd have like some. I'd have some ideas that I'd had. I've got my little, my phone. I've got these hook ideas that I've written. It's just a mile long, but I'd sometimes come there. But now, the longer I've done it, I'll get something going ahead of time. A lot of times, depending on who's going to come, if it's an artist, I might prepare an idea or get a musical concept, or just because we're in this day and age where things need to be more efficient, and we don't have time for these writes that last 2 days. Like it used to be that we could do a write for 2 days and that'd be okay, but now it's like you got to get a song and get it out and that kind of thing. So
you miss the sandbox days when you had all that time to create. Yeah.
Right.
Was there an event in your career that, looking back, was a blessing in disguise?
Yes. Yeah. There definitely was. It was weird. You and I were working together, and you knew that you knew exactly. The answer to this question already.
Exactly. I do that.
Right.
I don't sometimes, but for you, I do know this was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. We had been working together. Had a great start, great run there.
Great run.
And then all of a sudden, it was just, we had a new head of publishing, and he had said they were going to pick up my option, said it was going to be great, and I was going to keep going. And we had 40 some cuts on that deal.
Oh, it was crazy. The deal was fantastic. It had nothing to do with you. It was just they cut writers just willy-nilly.
Yeah, and then they let me walk, and so I walk out instead of at the bottom of my game as a real on a real rise. So I was a free agent.
Yeah.
And I was able to go get a deal here in town that with the publisher I'm with now, Capital, that was it was just a good. I mean, it was really bittersweet to leave Warner because it was, but having the new guy there and everything, you didn't feel the same kind of belief, and so it was definitely bittersweet, but it was a blessing in disguise for sure. Well,
and then I left a few months after that too, so the writing was kind of on the wall,
right?
And then Joy left, and Sean left, and
because that whole thing looked like I was so terrified that was going to be. That my career was over, because we had such a good rhythm. You and I got such a good start with everything that we had, and we had all these great writers that were part of our team with Joy and with Joel and Luke and Sean, and then all of a sudden it was done.
Yeah.
And so I remember thinking, this is going to be, this is going to be the end of me.
No, you had a couple of companies who wanted you, and so you actually had a choice to make, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
But it was the right thing.
Right.
It really was, because your career has just blossomed into an amazing.
But I just think, you think about the blessing in disguise, and you go, well, because you had left a couple months later, and if they had not let me go,
then you would have been there without me,
and which would have been, for me, would have been like
exactly.
I'd have felt like
it all worked out.
Indentured servitude.
Yeah.
So,
do you have a great co-writing tip that you could share?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of those, but and I'm guilty. That I only can say them because I'm guilty of making the mistakes. I can do it. I can co-write. That's all we ever do anymore.
Right.
But I'm also guilty of making the mistakes that I would say not to make. I'd say don't bulldoze your co-writers, which which I've done before. But I would also say don't be so timid that you can't get your ideas out, which I've also done before. And pay attention to the other guys, like really treat it as a mutually respect-filled room to where everybody's got a voice.
Yeah.
And if there's a person in the room that's a quieter voice, that doesn't mean they don't have good ideas. It just means that maybe they're timid, and you have to give them a chance to have a voice. And I, for the most part, I try to do that. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm guilty of pushing through. And but I definitely say that because you'd be surprised if you let that person speak. If they're a quieter voice, you'd be surprised at what will come out of them, and both on the music side or the lyric side, if you give them a chance to blossom. So
paying attention to the relationship is very, very important.
Yeah, read the room for sure.
Yeah, glad you said something. What inspires you to get up and do this every day?
Well, I think, going back to when I got let go at Warner, there was that instance in my career that was really painful, and then there was the instance when I was an artist for 5 minutes that, I was 22 years old, and that was over.
Right.
So those two moments were like take stock of your life moments, because what I felt was, both times I thought my career was over. So I was really thankful afterwards. Like the first time with being an artist, I was really thankful that I was able to keep doing music. And then I got with Warner, and then that ended, and I ended up, going over to Capitol, and I was able to keep doing music. So both those times I was really thankful to just be in this job. So I'm inspired by that. When I get up, I go, man, I could be doing something else. And I don't take it for granted, I think, is what I would say.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an inspiring place to operate from.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
What has been the most significant turning point in your career? I think we probably just
Well,
maybe would have gone over those. Yeah.
that was big.
Yeah, that was big.
The one,
Yeah.
the release there, because that was that period. I remember, like that was right before I was supposed to pay my mortgage, and I didn't have any money, and you loaned me $5,000 right there. You loaned me, which was that. Talk about going above and beyond the call of duty. I didn't ask you for it, but you did, because
that was
we
the
were
hardest phone call I probably have ever had to make.
Oh.
Was calling you to tell you that you were dropped,
Right.
because there was no reason for it. Yeah.
Right, and it was brutal. And I did, because we thought that
He
check.
paid me back, by the way.
Right, that's right. But we had no idea how we were going to make it, and just because we knew that draw was coming the next month, and all of a sudden 7 days from getting the check, it's not going to come.
Right.
And I've got all these bills, and songwriters, especially then, it was check to check.
Yeah.
Which is the case a lot of times.
Yeah.
But so that was a turning point for sure. But I was busting my butt before then, but I really did after that.
Yeah.
And just swore I'd never let it happen again.
And it won't.
We'll hope.
Yeah.
We're always crossing our fingers.
How can a songwriter best improve upon their craft?
It's like earlier saying, just paying attention and doing it and doing it and doing it, and paying attention to what people respond to that you do too. Like if people keep telling you, man, I love that melody, and maybe you're not writing great lyric, or if they tell you that your lyric's great, maybe you're, maybe they are, but just paying attention to what people are responding to, and paying attention to the negatives enough to where, it's important. We don't ever like to hear the negatives, but paying attention to them is really important, because
there's both.
you gotta.
There's room for both.
There is definitely. Like, listen to the positives, let them encourage you and pump you up, but pay attention to the negatives so that they make you better, because they
Yeah.
will. And the people that you trust. I mean, you can't just you give that power to anybody. But
That's a great point, is to have
Yeah.
people around you that are, as I call them, good mirrors.
right.
So they reflect back upon you what's really honest and truthful. Yeah. So any advice you want to impart to the budding songwriters out there
Oh gosh.
before we go?
These are all these things that I can never think of the boil it down into a nutshell kind of thing. You know, writers have heard this for years from everybody, but keep writing, because it's write and write and write, and you know, like we were saying earlier, pay attention and keep writing, because you always think, every writer thinks that they go through these things. Like my average week, I always joke and say my average week, I'll have a couple days where I feel really great, and I have a couple days where I feel like I'm just terrible. And I call them the I suck days. I still have them all the time, and you just have to know that every time you think you've written your last great song, you haven't, and every time you've written your last bad song, you haven't. And the way you just keep getting better is you keep plowing through and keep learning and keep writing, and you know, that's what I'd say.
You show up every day.
Right, show up every day for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
you
really
bet.
appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.